Hello and welcome to Dawn News. I'm Nadia Naqi with you. ECP has given its verdict. It's found Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf guilty on the prohibited funding case. We have with us Fauzia Yazdani, who is a policy advisor and expert on the electoral process. Welcome to Dawn News, Fauzia, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Nadia, for having me.
All right, Fauzia, so you have gone through the verdict. You had been speaking about the prohibited funding case for quite some time, and we know that Akbar S. Babar, the founding member, had filed this petition before the Election Commission of Pakistan, and nearly after 8 years, the verdict is out. How do you see this verdict? Is it a very strong verdict against Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf?
It's very interesting to see. You see, much that media has been blowing a trumpet, if I may say, that as if, there'll be an earthquake and there'll be an earth-shattering things. Good judgments, as they say, should speak through the verdict or through the words they're put in. So Election Commission of Pakistan's verdict may not give us a very, earth-shattering headlines, but definitely it has many things which are woven into its script of the judgment, which are very damaging for PTI and in person to Imran Khan. Foremost, I think there is a reputational damage for both the party and the leader to start with. Because, we saw that he's always been asking others to be honest, intellectually honest and fiscally honest. And right now we have somebody where Election Commission, if you allow me to read, says that, he cannot, respondent was in full knowledge and his stance on denying that accounts cannot be entertained is grossly incorrect and wrong. So I think that's a verdict in itself.
So, this was the opening comments that I needed from you, Fauzia. But let's just go deep into this verdict. Although it will take a while that, we all go through it and we try and understand. So the first thing is that it has been found that there are 16 accounts, if I may say, that they could not probably own those accounts. And those are considered as accounts that were not reconciled in all the financials that had been submitted before the ECP. Having said that, for our viewers, we need to understand one thing from you. What do you mean by a prohibited funding? Is it that you cannot take any funds, the party cannot take any funds from anywhere people living, outside Pakistan?
I think for the benefit of your viewers, let me put it as the ruling says, the Pakistan Political Parties Order 2002, Article 6, Subclause 3, very categorically states that you can only accept contribution or donation from individuals. Having said that, any contribution made directly or indirectly by any foreign government, multinational, or domestically incorporated public or private company, firm, trade, or professional association shall be considered prohibited funding. So there are 13 accounts per se, which have come out, which are kind of undisclosed, whose sources are coming in from these sources, as the order say that you cannot have. And PTI in its, I think, hundreds of submission before the Election Commission also said that we don't know these accounts, whereas these accounts have been verified by the State Bank of Pakistan. They said we don't know about these accounts, they don't exist. State Bank of Pakistan, during the government of Mr. Imran Khan, the PTI government, verified that not only that these accounts exist, they gave names as well. And those names include, besides Imran Khan Sahab, Mahmood Rashid, Mia Farooq, Asad Kaisar, Imran Ismail, Qasim Suri, and Ms. Seema Zia.
And Najib Harun, all the PTI members. And, and also I remember Akbar S. Babar saying that all these accounts that PTI says they do not own had been, the transactions had been handled by the PTI Central Financial Office.
Yes.
So, and still they say that, these are not our accounts. So yes, now let's come to the verdict. They say it's a unanimous verdict, Chief Election Commissioner had said. why do I feel that, the election commissioner was under a lot of pressure from both sides? Not only from Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, who had been, they have been saying that the chief election commissioner is partisan to the incumbent governments, all the political parties included in the government right now, as well as the other side, that's the government, have been pressurizing chief election commissioner that the verdict should be out, which had been reserved in June this year, right? So do you think from any angle of this verdict that yes, the chief election commissioner was under tremendous pressure?
I can see that. Unfortunately, I can see that Chief Election Commissioner was under tremendous pressure. And let's be fair to him. Any individual sitting in any office, be it even a constitutional office, as is Election Commission of Pakistan, having loads and loads of powers, would come under pressure, the kind of things that were being said about them. But having said that, he has tried, it's a unanimous verdict to the, I wouldn't say he, I would say the commission, because commission means chief and the members. So the commission has tried to keep itself within the confined boundaries of their constitutional limits, their institutional mandate, and political order, political parties order 2002. So whatever they've said it, yet they have not ordered an action, because the political party order and at Article 16 says that it's upon the federal government. Once the verdict is out or decision has been given by Election Commission, it's upon federal government to initiate further action in shape of a reference. Now, that is more categorically said for dissolution of a political party where we are not there. So all that hula hoo, as we were hearing that, their party symbol will be taken away and they will be dissolved. I don't think the whole case was even near that. It's more on funding, and it has a direct implication on two persons, one person and one institution. Person is Imran Khan per se, because he has certified that this is correct knowledge. Now we cannot turn it into this was a certification and not an affidavit. The implications are on these people under whose name these accounts were there. And then why are we forgetting that audit firm that audited that account? There needs to be an intellectual propriety question to them as well. What type of audit were they undertaking that they didn't see it? They were supposed to see that.
Absolutely. So you're saying that only Chairman Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, that's the implication he may have, depends upon now the contents of the reference that the federal government, if and may file. It depends upon them, right? So the Election Commission, according to its constitutional ambit, I'd say, they can only suggest. They passed a ruling that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is found guilty on the charges that had been, put forth by their founding member, Akbar S. Babur. So all the amount is now will be confiscated, right?
No. That's where I feel the judgment is weak, because ideally, once it is proven that it is the party or the party account is in receipt of prohibited funding, automatically it should have said that this amount, X amount, whatever it is found to be prohibited funding. So we ask federal government and we order it to be confiscated, on the basis of which federal government would take necessary actions to confiscate it. Whereas Election Commission has issued another show cause for them to explain it further. That is where I'm like a little confused, and I need to read the whole 68 page. Maybe the answer is somewhere there, but apparently after 9 years, there was no need for show cause. Rather, Election Commission should have said, if there was financial misappropriation or prohibited funding up to 2012, what happened between 2013 and 18 or up till now, 2022, needs to undergo a forensic audit.
Oh my God, which means that you're absolutely right. A party that has been now proven guilty of prohibited funding is only till the year that it had all the documents for. However, what happens further 2014 onwards is something that needs to be looked at. So is this a historical decision in the sense it has never happened in the history of Pakistani electoral politics that any political party is found guilty of prohibited funding.
Yes, but then it was the first, I would say, first request to the ECP, and I wouldn't call it historic. When time is lost for 9 years, justice delayed is justice denied. So it couldn't have taken ECP 9 years, but let's be fair to ECP as well. ECP as an institution does not have the technical capacity to undertake any forensic audit. To get this information, to verify these information, to get more on this information, they are dependent on the sitting federal government and its autonomous bodies and institutions to tell them and help them and strengthen them. Whereas in this case, it becomes very apparent that earlier commission maybe was not interested. This commissioner was interested, yet it was under the PTI government. And why should PTI government's institution be facilitating election commission against their own government? So, I mean, it got delayed and delayed. So,
but there's one question that arises out of all this. You say the election commission doesn't have those technical expertise to do those kind of forensic, right? But it's their mandate. According to it's a constitutional body, it's an autonomous body, and it is supposed to find out whether all the political parties registered under the Election Commission of Pakistan abides by the rules of not having any prohibited funding. So this is also, I would say that this also now puts the election commission into question. What had they been doing all this while? And now also for all the political parties that are registered under the election commission of Pakistan to find out fast.
I totally agree with you. See, the electoral laws are very clear that and political parties order that we are talking about, they're very clear that a political party has to submit within 60 days of the end of the fiscal year a statement of account. Fine. But what happens? Does it come, is it ever submitted regularly by any political party? And I'm not talking about PTI alone. Any political party annually? No. Most of the time, what happens is that they are always delayed and they keep on issuing notices and they keep on delaying. So this is the least bit that is used when, for the, as we say, for the institutional accountability or seeing that are they doing what they should be doing. So it's taken as a tick box whenever general elections are called. Since you cannot issue party tickets, you cannot have election symbol if you do not have these financial statements record complete with the ECP. So what political parties do is 3-4 years record is provided like jump last minute. So the box is ticked. But at that point of time, Election Commission does not have that time, energy, or even technical staff, and I'm repeating it over and over, who can undergo to see that if it's not. So what do they do, generally speaking? They see, okay, this has been submitted. It's been by X auditing firm, which is, let's say, Pakistan's top 4 or 5. Fine, done. It's the auditor's thing to see if certification is there. Go.
Oh, all right. So it's just a checkbox that they have.
Checkbox.
It's the same thing when the candidates file the nomination papers, right? Okay, this person, okay, this is the person, these are his assets. Okay, the tax has been filed. Just keep on doing that check boxes, but actually not even finding out, not investigating whether the person has actually paid those taxes. And the same for the political party. So do you think, Fauzia?
No, sorry, Nadia, let me correct you there. For individuals' candidature, in last election and before, they did form a link between State Bank of Pakistan and FPR. So the name, the ID card would go in, State Bank would say, FPR would say, and State Bank will tell X number of banks, he has taken loan from X number of banks, or is a defaulter from X number of banks. The FPR would say the tax has been paid out. So for individual, it's much covered, the device system. But when it comes to auditing, financial strength or financial health or financial accountability of a political party and its funds, sorry, no, they don't have that capacity. It's never done.
Okay, so why did Akbar S. Babar go so like why was he so disturbed about this prohibited funding? What difference does it make? Because you must have heard the chairman Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf saying, "I'm a cricketer. I used to raise funds. People used to help me out, and if they've given the money to raise the funds and to make my party stronger, this is how world over the funds are collected. What difference does it make if any foreign national or foreign company is funding a political party?" The reason why I ask you this is for the benefit of our viewers to understand exactly what it may cause in the political system of your country.
Okay. You see, it's very easy to say this is how it's done. Because you and me, out of our interest, may know, but generally people say, "Oh yeah, when you give donation for a certain account, I don't even for me, I won't look for the law. Am I abiding by the law if I'm donating for X person or X entity? It's not
Right.
my way. I mean, I'm just donating, so that's fine. But if somebody, and it's not about donating 50 rupees or 1,000 rupees or even $1,000. We are talking about millions of rupees. And Khan Sahib, unfortunately, a week ago also reiterated when he said there are no free lunches when it
Yeah.
was being talked in terms of American conspiracy. If somebody, a foreign government or a foreign, equity holder, be it
Mm.
RF or a UAE government official, if they are, or any foreign government, if they are investing millions of dollars into your account for your election campaign, they don't like your face only. I mean, you're very handsome. I may look very, beautiful to them, and they would say, "Fauzia, you're so good looking. Let me give you." But nobody would give me 10 rupees. But
Yeah,
then I'm
there are no free lunches.
there are no free lunches. So Imran Khan said there are no free lunches. And let me remind our viewers that last Sunday, if they go through the last Sunday's papers, they can find it. They said why General Bajwa has called Wendy Sherman asking for IMF to release our funds. I am worried for the national security of my country, because if they do us the favor of pressurizing IMF, they would ask something back. Put that thing, take that comment and put it here, and you have the answer. There are no free lunches. And then we have seen in the context of Arif Naqvi's Financial Times story, Mr. Arif Naqvi in Imran Khan's government was found to be sitting in high level cabinet or kitchen cabinet level meetings with the secretaries discussing things. In what capacity a foreign national was sitting, who had funded 2 million, was sitting there? That, I mean, that the insinuation is very clear. Why doesn't he answer that in one capacity he was sitting there?
And we all know that how different countries have their own interest within our country, and especially the political system. And that's why foreign funding is prohibited. So is it just prohibited in Pakistan, or even in the West, we see there are crystal clear rules about parties' fundings?
In most of the countries, the party funding is very, very tricky, sensitive question. So
It
the
has to
rules,
be transparent.
whatever the political party law related laws are there, they're very clear, and they do try to restrict it. For example, in US, we've always heard these comments that gun lobbyists are doing
Right,
it. There are
right.
lobbies, or the pharma bodies are doing it. Even in Bangladesh, when I was posted, the pharma industry is big. So pharma or textile industry would fund a certain political party or the government and help get favorable policies. So it's always there. But the question again, let me bring it back to Mr. Imran Khan and the reputational damage, I would say. And that is the party, and he himself has always been saying he has struggled over 20 years to establish rule of law and accountability. So if he is willfully violating the law of the land, and he thinks that he or his party is not accountable, then that's not what he ever should.
He's not walking the talk that he's been doing. So
Yes.
towards the end, I'd like to know, in your opinion, what should the federal government's reference that they should be now filing? What should be the contents of those reference?
Okay, I think that's to me apparently. Again, I've said that I have to go through deeper into it, but apparently, under the Hanif Abbasi case, which has been referred in the judgment as well, it's very clear. The case under 62(1)(f) is pretty rife. That he's not Sadiq or Amin anymore, because court said that you cannot hold anybody Sadiq or Amin unless Election Commission of Pakistan says so. So if
Oh.
Election Commission of Pakistan says so, that the stance that he did not had knowledge before certifying that there are some wrongdoing in this account is false. They're not saying that it's incomplete. The word used is false. So that is a case enough. The second case is, as I said, for those members of parliament whose name we said in the first half of the program, whose name are involved with those accounts. Those members should also undergo disqualification under 62(1)(f).
Do
And
you
then,
also know? Do you also know that there was one named SN Rashid who's no more? So, like, this
yes,
is all that they had submitted, and I was quite shocked. And Akbar S. Babar also commented on this, saying that this is quite surprising that now you're going to use names that probably, not probably, but they do not exist. I also know there were other members, and they were mostly from Punjab, elected representatives. Yes, you've spoken about Mahmood Rashid, you've spoken about Imran Ismail, Najib Harun. And Najib Harun, by the way, is one of the people from the assembly that pays the highest taxes. And I don't know how Najib Harun is going to defend that. We will have, I'm sure we'll have a chance to speak to him.
Nadia Asad Kaisar and Qasim Suri, they held
Qasim
the
Suri,
highest
yes.
office. Speaker of the National Assembly and Deputy Speaker, they are the, in the order of priority or protocol, as we say, they're at number 3 and 4. And now, if you contextualize it, what happened in April when Asad Kaisar said that I'm not going to even under my speakership have this debate in National Assembly talking about vote of no confidence in of Imran Khan. So he walks out, and Qasim Suri comes in and he says, "No, I'm convinced that this is against the thing." And 125 members are hereby declared disqualified, over and out, and I'm out. So, I mean, one has to connect the I's and connect the I's and cross the T's.
So it's the verdict today by the Election Commission of Pakistan more damaging on the chairman Tehreek-e-Insaf Imran Khan rather than the party itself, because any party is funded by the stroke of a pen, that is through a signature by the chairman who heads the party. So he needs to be knowing exactly where this funding is coming. A, B, the affidavit that had been submitted before the Election Commission of Pakistan, which means that you're under oath and you're giving false certification under oath, which in itself can be really damaging, especially when the federal government is going to file a reference against this. Now, let's see what narrative Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf continues, because they have been propagating one thing, that the other political parties' foreign funding cases verdict should be out soon. I'm quite surprised that for them, it took almost eight to 9 years, right? And for others, they just want it immediately, though it should come out, because now it should be very transparent that all political parties are taking funding only from Pakistani individuals and not from firms and individuals who are foreign nationals or prohibited under the election rules. Fauzia, we shall take leave from you. Thank you so much for joining us today and letting us know exactly what the verdict is. But yes, as you said, it will have not only political implications and far-reaching implications on Imran Khan, but also on the entire system as well, I would say.